Now, there are 5 main desires which lead to the accomplishment of your life's purpose. They are the desire to live, to know, for power, for happiness, and the desire for peace. They are the desire to live, to know, the desire for power, for happiness, and the desire for peace. If a desire is a natural desire, there's an answer to this. That is, for each desire you have, there is an answer to achieving that desire. For there cannot be a desire to which there is no answer. When you participate and experience something, then you know it. When you fully participate in the following desires, you will know them, and the answer to the question, "What is my life's purpose?" will be known. The 5 purposes. 1. The desire to live. Every plant, amoeba, insect, animal, and man has an inherent desire to survive. When one sees how even the smallest insect wishes to avoid any pursuit, and how it seeks shelter against any attempt made to touch it, fearing that its life may be taken away, this shows that even the smallest creature in the world, in whom man cannot find a trace of mind, these smallest creatures have a desire to live. This desire, developed in man, shows still greater phenomena of intelligence. War and peace are brought about with the desire of living. The cause behind war is the desire to live. The cause of peace is also the desire to live. There is not one soul living on earth that has not the desire to live. When a person is in his normal condition of mind, his one desire, his innermost desire, is to live. This shows that despite all other desires man has acquired, this desire to live is innate, coming from his origin. So the desire to live is divine substance in a person. And as a desire, it also has an answer. But where? Where is the possibility of fulfillment of this desire? Can immortality be gained? That is, can it be acquired? No, it can't. It has to be discovered. One only has to make one's vision keener. In other words, to know you are immortal and can actualize the desire to live, you must explore yourself. But that's the last thing one does. When you ask someone to look in themselves, they think it's too simple. They think, I already know myself. I'm a mortal being. What is necessary for the person, even for a moment, is to realize that the spirit is independent of the mortal covering. By that, the fear of death naturally vanishes. There is no desire in the world that has not its answer. The answer to every desire is somewhere. The fulfillment of every desire must come one day. Therefore, without doubt, this desire of living must be fulfilled. And the fulfillment of this desire is getting above the illusion which is caused by the ignorance of life's secret treasure. That is, again, it's necessary for you even for just a moment, to realize that your spirit is independent of your mortal covering. You're not your body. You're not your emotions. You're not your mind. You exist independently of that. Therefore, any fear of death must naturally vanish. 2. The desire for knowledge. This can be traced in all living beings, in the lower creature as well as in mankind. If one notices the movements of birds and animals in the forest, one sees that besides their seeking for their food, they're playing with their mates, they're protecting for themselves from their enemies, they are also interested in every sensation that comes to them through the 5 senses. Sound, color, touch, every sensation, scent, has an effect upon them. One can trace in the animals the natural desire to know something. And it is this desire which in human evolution can be recognized as curiosity. From childhood, this tendency seems to predominate, and the more a child shows this tendency, the more the promise of the child, the more promising the child is, because that shows that so much more of the soul part of the child is to the forefront. Among grown-up persons, what strikes us most in their personality is the brilliance of intelligence, apart from their goodness and their virtue. This is an important thing in life, and it has, as a result, important achievement. What is that achievement? Why, it's the knowledge of the ultimate truth, and this knowledge fulfills the purpose of life. A curious soul begins by trying to know everything that it sees, and it comes in contact with. What it wants to know first is the name of an object, what it is called, what it is for, what it is, how to use it, how is it made, how to make best use of it, how to profit by it most. This knowledge is what we call learning. Knowledge can be divided into 2 aspects. One, the knowledge we call learning, which comes from the reason and says, it is so because it is so. Well, this we call knowledge. But there is knowing which cannot be explained from any because. This knowledge is simply so. It cannot be anything else. The scientist who discovers a truth contradicts a previous theory and says, I have found out the truth about it, which is the one who saw it before did not perceive correctly. But there is knowing which is beyond this contradiction. Wise men of all ages have touched this realm and agreed on this. It's called truth. Every soul, whether in the past, present, or future, whenever it arrives at that stage when it knows, will realize the same thing. Therefore, it is this knowledge that there is to be found the satisfaction of the purpose of one's coming to earth. What is that knowledge? How can one attain it? Three, the desire for power. The desire for power is the wanting of everything one desires. That is, the wanting to totally achieve all that you can. This gives one the desire for power. A person desires power to hold something, to make something, to work something, to attract something, to use something, to rule something or someone, or to assimilate something. Whatever power is gained by outside efforts in life, however great it might seem for the moment, it proves useless when it comes to be examined. Eventually, the outer power, in spite of its great appearance for the moment, proves fatal in the end. Great empires are won and then lost. Fame and fortune quickly disappear. Yet, because each desire has an answer, there must be some power hidden somewhere which may be called worthwhile. Where is it? The power is hidden in your person. When a person becomes intoxicated with their power, with their powers, they overlook the development and cultivation of inner power. Depending on the outer powers of physical ability, riches, or fame, which in truth do not belong to them, one day they become victim to those powers. As the outer power and involvement becomes greater and greater, and the inner becomes smaller, the greater eats up the personal power. So it is that heroes, kings, and emperors, the commanders of great armies, or the extremely wealthy with outer influence, become victim to the same power on which they always depended. Well then, if the outer power is not to be depended upon, then where is that power to be found? Where is that power to be found to which one can depend? The power is to be found in oneself. And what power is it? It's conviction. How is that power built? All power is built by belief. It is belief that culminates in conviction. If you have the inclination to believe, you will arrive at conviction. This is the way. Four, the desire for happiness. Happiness, which is sought after by every soul, has its secret in the knowledge of the self. Man seeks for happiness, not because happiness is his substance, but because happiness is his own being. Therefore, in seeking for happiness, man is actually looking for himself. The desire for happiness, seeking happiness, comes about from the feeling of having lost something which one had already owned, which belonged to one, which was one's own self. People believe that happiness is something which is acquired, so they continually strive in every direction to attain it. In the end, after all the striving, a person finds that real happiness does not belong in what they call pleasure. Now, pleasures are only the shadow of happiness, and while these are the illusion of happiness, all the illusion which stands beside reality is more interesting for the average man than reality itself. A happiness which is momentary, a happiness which depends on something outside of itself, is called pleasure. The secret of the whole thing is that what is made for man, man may hold it, but he must not be held by it. It's about attachment. If one keeps one's thoughts centered upon the idea of real happiness, and if one does not allow anything to hinder that, then in the end one arrives at that happiness which is the purpose of the coming of every soul on earth. This happiness is attained by the realization of the self. 5. The desire for peace. Life is a rhythm which moves from matter to spirit, from sensation to peace. The life of sensation gives a momentary joy. The life of the spirit gives peace. Momentary joy, however great, depends on the outer life and creates a reaction in that life. Peace is independently felt within oneself. It is not dependent upon the outer sensation. It is something that belongs to each person, something that is one's own self. There is no pleasure in the world, however great, no experience, however interesting, that can give one that satisfaction which peace alone can give. Peace is not knowledge. Peace is not power. Peace is not happiness. But it is all of these things. Peace is productive of happiness. It inspires one with knowledge of the seen and unseen, and in it is to be found the presence of the divine. It's not the excited one who conquers in this continual battle of life. It is the peaceful one who tolerates all, who forgives all, who understands all, who assimilates all things. It is not the talkative, not the argumentative one who proves to be wise. One may have intelligence, worldly wisdom, and yet may not have pure intelligence, which is real wisdom. True wisdom is to be found in the peaceful, for peacefulness is a sign of wisdom. It is the peaceful one who is observant. It is peace that gives them power to observe keenly. It is the peaceful one, therefore, who can conceive, for peace helps one to conceive. Subscribe. Make a new friend today and join us. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe now. Thank you.